were destined to see more of Keanu Reeves' previous retired hitman after the greatness of John Wick Chapter 3. Luckily, getting revenge takes more than just 3 films, right? The plot of a John Wick film is not difficult to understand. Each one begins with Keanu Reeves' brooding assassin being personally or professionally wronged, sparking an elaborate killing spree that ends with Wick in a worse state than he began. But unlike the previous 2 films, the ending of John Wick Chapter 3 has far-reaching implications for the world of the Continental and for John Wick. After John Wick 3, John is still alive and in the care of the Bowery King, who also survived the High Table's attempted assassination. The Bowery King, who once collaborated with the High Table in a limited capacity, seems to be seeking revenge on the organization now. The implication is that he and John Wick will work together to bring down the High Table once and for all. To maintain his position of authority and avoid being caught in the crossfire of any conflict, John's former mentor Winston made that agreement. But can John Wick survive rising story outgrowth while remaining faithful to the realistic grounding that initially won over viewers? How soon will John Wick be in space, and how will we even want to see that film? That's a different question for another occasion. For the time being, John Wick 3 remains a John Wick film, and a fantastic one too. The plot serves its purpose, and the action is spectacular, which is all that is required. Given that both John Wick Chapter 3 and the first sequel ended on cliffhangers, it would seem that director Chad Stahelski was consciously creating a franchise. Considering that the original endings of the 2 sequels were different, the filmmaker has repeatedly denied this. In an interview with the Empire podcast about the 3rd film scheduled for release in 2019, Stahelski noted that one of his initial requirements for coming back was that Wick die and the series come to an end. This would be the logical conclusion for the director and could indicate how the John Wick film series will conclude. The culmination of John Wick 3 was teased as the conclusion of a trilogy, but its ending leaves the story open for John Wick 4. The success of Parabellum at the box office led to the unexpected announcement of a 4th film just 4 days after its debut. The 4th installment of John Wick will hit theaters on March 24, 2023. This was revealed in December 2021 announcement video. John Wick Chapter 4 has experienced numerous COVID-related delays since its initial 2021 release date, when it was reported planned for release on the same day as The Matrix 4. In typical John Wick fashion, Lionsgate sent a text message announcing their return to operation to fans who had subscribed to an exclusive text service. It said, "Please consider this a professional courtesy. John Wick Chapter 4 is now in production." And it appears that the delay has given the production more time to complete reshoots at this point. The majority of the main filming was finished back in 2021, but new set photos of Reeves and co-star Ian McShane in New York have surfaced. But it's still unclear how these last retakes will affect the story. We're happy that Chapter 4 is currently staying true to its 2023 release date after so many delays, and we cross our fingers that the film would be postponed once more. Obviously, Keanu Reeves will reprise his role as John Wick because without him, a John Wick film would be like a Mission Impossible film without Tom Cruise. He'll be reunited with Lawrence Fishburne as the Bowery King, Lance Reddick as Continental Hotel concierge Sharon, and Ian McShane as Continental owner Winston, who may or may not have attempted to kill John after the 3rd film. It's uncertain whether the new film has brought back Jason Mantzoukas as the TikTok man, one of the Bowery King's hitmen, or Halle Berry Sophia, who has now paid back the marker with Wick and has her hotel to run. We anticipate seeing the High Table again, which could bring back Saeed Tagmui as the elder, Asia Kate Dillon as the educator, and Angelica Houston as the director, one of the High Table members. Before we go any further, we wanted to let you know that it's time for you to smash that like button if you haven't done it already. Bill Skarsgård, Donnie Yen, Hiroyuki Sanada, Shamir Anderson, Clancy Brown, and Scott Adkins are just a few of the many newcomers in the 4th film. Although we don't yet know who they're playing, the teaser gave us our first glimpses of Brown and Skarsgård, and neither of them seems particularly friendly toward John Wick. Brown has hinted that his character might be connected to the High Table in the past. What possible outcomes might be in store for John after his journey with at least 2 chapters of the Book of Wick remaining? Even though the John Wick franchise isn't known for its happy theme, the character might still be able to find fulfillment after the gunfire stops. Wick is taken into the sewers to meet with Lawrence Fishburne's Bowery King at the end of John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum, where he is beaten and covered in blood. Both of them had grudges against the High Table, a group of 12 crime lords that coordinates the global assassination operation, after the Pigeon Man's supporters were massacred. John Wick 4 will undoubtedly follow Wick and the Bowery King's collaborative effort to eliminate the High Table once and for all, and finally exact revenge for all the hardships they've endured under the organization's rule. John could then find happiness by adopting an orphan child after finishing the mission. In the original film, it's revealed that Wick's late wife bought a dog, giving John a reason to keep going after she died. John Wick will require a similar base to stay on the honorable course if he's to have a happy ending. John might have to come across an orphan during his assault on the high table and adopt him, giving him a cause to fight for other than just vengeance. The franchise would conclude with John, the child, and their dog living happily ever after, fulfilling Keanu Reeves' desire for John to walk off into the dusk.
No one, not even you, can kill everyone.
This much is obvious. John Wick is skilled at killing people, therefore it's safe to assume that John and the Bowery King will defeat the High Table and destroys their adversaries who mistreated them. The bigger question surrounding John Wick's conclusion is not whether or not he'll triumph in the decisive conflict, but rather what will happen to John afterward. John's happy ending or his demise could both result from the death of the High Table. A third possibility, however, is for Baba Yaga to take over as the High Table's new leader and remake the entire Assassin's Guild in his image. As John's story so far has demonstrated, as one cannot simply give up life of a mercenary. Without leadership, the entire continental infrastructure would fall to pieces, requiring the replacement of the High Table with another authority. In a way, this outcome would be even more tragic for John Wick than dying because he would become everything he despises the most. Wick doesn't have any ambitions to become a leader among his fellow criminals, but it's precisely this lack of self-interest that makes him the ideal candidate for the position. Numerous fans claim that the so-called 5 stages of grief serve as the foundation of each John Wick film. The denial of 2014's John Wick would be his refusal to acknowledge the passing of his wife, his dog, and the end of his peaceful life. John Wick 2 is anger, which should be fairly obvious given his inventive methods of murder. Parabellum would be bargaining, and in Chapter 3 of John Wick, John strikes a deal with the Elder in exchange for his freedom. John Wick 4 will represent depression, using this model, which makes sense given the hopeless situation he was left in by the closing credits. And because of this, you need to smash that subscribe button and notification bell so you'll never miss any of our videos in the future. Acceptance in the context of Wick's journey would almost certainly imply coming to terms with the end of his idyllic existence. Going back to being an assassin for Keanu Reeves would be a fairly depressing ending to the John Wick story, but it would also leave the door open for a future revival. See you in the next video.